Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Matt. Today I want to talk about a great way to memorize vocabulary and get some of these hard to learn words or these words that you think might be very high impact into your long-term memory, or just kind of memorize them a little bit better. And this method is very similar to the Goldlist method, if you've ever heard of that, though I do think there are some big differences between the methods. If anything, it's really kind of something completely different. It's sort of my take on it, but I'll link it in the description below. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. So the basic idea is that we really want to focus in on words that we're struggling with, or maybe are really high impact words that we want to learn. So think adverbs, conjunctions, prepositions, question words, things like that. And the way I like to approach it is not to put too many words kind of in the table, but really just kind of do a more specialized, focused list of words. So I kind of like a nice list of between 25 to 50 words. And you kind of want this exercise to maybe be around 10 minutes. Ideally, I like to approach it from the perspective of not being, the exercise not being too time consuming, but it's really a small ask with some pretty big payoffs in the end of the day. So as you can see here, this is something that I've used for German in the past, where I have a list of words that's maybe 50 words long about, and all you're going to do is basically take a bunch of words on the left side and make that the words that you want to learn. And then on the right side, have the translation or definition of that word. Now, I'm using Excel for this, but you can use a notebook. You can use any other method. It's just what I really want you to just focus in on is the principles behind it. So you get those words on the left side and the definition on the right. And after that, ideally, get a piece of paper out and start writing down each of the words, right? Write down the word and write down the translation. And if you can, ideally say it out loud. So you're not only getting the kind of tactile function of writing down the word, but you're hearing the word back. And you're actually working on speaking and pronunciation. If you also can get something like Google Translate or some sort of pronunciation website up where you can hear the word as well, even better, because as we go down the list, we're using all of our senses. We are visually seeing the word, we are saying the word out loud, so we're hearing it, but we're also having to physically say the word. And if you can listen to the word back from a pronunciation site, even better. And just go through the entire list with just writing down the word and its respective translation. And like I said, we don't want to put too many words on our list. We really want to make it maybe 10 minutes, with about 25 to 50 words, not too big of an ask, because if we start adding too many words to our list, then it might even just be better to do more of a traditional vocabulary method than this kind of method, right? Like the way I like to approach it is a more specialized, a more focused approach for really hitting those high value words or those words that we're really struggling with. And then afterwards, if you can, try to quiz yourself on each of these words, or you can even do it before you do your list writing for that day. So you can see on this tab, I've kind of randomized the words into a different order, and then I would maybe delete the columns and try to guess them. Of course, you don't need to use Excel. You could create flashcards for this physically. You could use a flashcard app like Memrise or Anki. It really doesn't matter, but try to quiz yourself, because there is kind of been a lot of studies out there that have shown that, people that have been quizzed on material and having to work on that recall function actually helps them to memorize and learn material a lot better. So, don't be too concerned if, you quiz yourself on each of the words that you're writing down, you miss all of them or you miss most of them. That's okay. What we really want to be focused in on is this kind of recall function, this idea of trying to remember the word, and hopefully with that recall aspect, we're slowly internalizing the word a little bit better. And if you think about it too, when you are doing language learning, let's say you're watching a Netflix show or you're reading, you kind of are working on recall all the time, right? When you listen to a podcast, you hear the word and you really do need to hear when you hear the word, you kind of need to process it immediately. So you kind of have this natural recall aspect of things in the language learning process anyways. So when you're quizzing yourself, it's kind of hopefully helping you to remember that word a little bit quicker when you're listening to content or you're reading or whatever. And just keep doing this, every day or as often as you can. And what you'll slowly find is that, you'll slowly internalize these words a little bit better, right? Because we're hyper focused in on learning some of these words, right? And we're also kind of adding the aspect of using all of our senses, the visual, the kinesthetic, the auditory, to help reinforce that. Now, does that mean that you're going to have these words down perfectly after a couple days? Not necessarily, but the idea is that, hey, if we are struggling with words, or if we do want to learn a specific set of words because we think that that's going to really increase our comprehension, we're going to put more time into focusing on learning these words, right? We can argue the optimization of this method versus others, but the idea is that we're just going to focus on the things that we want to work on. We're going to focus on the things we're struggling with, because if we put more effort in, we're going to, hopefully, learn these words a little bit better, versus if we just kind of worked on our, if we just relied on picking up these words naturally over time, right? Instead, we're taking a more active approach to kind of getting these words into our long-term memory. And one more thing that I really wanted to add is that, I wouldn't really treat this method as a primary vocabulary method. You might see people that use the Goldlist method kind of as a primary vocabulary method. I do think that the way I would approach this is kind of more on focusing on words that you really want to learn that are going to have a high impact, like, think prepositions or adverbs or words that you're struggling with, right? It's kind of that more hyper specialized approach versus kind of using this method all of the time or super frequently. So that's the way I would approach it. And I think that's a big difference between the Goldlist method, where there'll be chunks and a next set of words. So it's similar in idea, but a little bit different. But like I said, I would approach this kind of on a more specialized front than anything else. And that's really as simple as that. So, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.